Growing up, I had dreams and aspirations, but always felt like the kid that didn't fit in. For the most part, I wasn't a bad kid, but when I made the transition into adulthood, I turned to the streets for guidance. This led to getting locked up in juvenile hall, doing time in CYA, and eventually a 120-month sentence in federal prison. I had a lot of time to think and reflect during my federal sentence, so I share with you what I learned, hoping I can positively influence someone else's life with Prison Talk. What's up? Big Kirk 916 getting down fresh out. When I seen this video, I had to speak on it, man. This is how insane some of these states are in their policies and how they push an agenda. And I don't know how anybody in their right mind could sit next to or be cordial with a person who endorses this type of activity. But you have a lot of states that get down like this. Oregon, certain parts of, I guess Washington, some of the other, I think Colorado, some of the other very liberal states that endorse this type of activity or, basically accept it as normal. But this right here, man, this officer and his behavior and his reaction to this gentleman.
Someone can walk up to your 2-year-old kid completely bare naked, and that's not a crime, even if it's on your property.
Correct. Well, so it's trespassing, but what I'm saying is there's no laws against the actual nudity portion of it.
So you can expose yourself to children in Oregon.
Again, if you're not doing it for sexual gratification or the gratification of somebody else, yes, you are allowed to walk around in public naked.
On private property, this is where I live, and someone just came and exposed themselves to my 2-year-old boy, and this officer's saying that it's not a crime. So a naked person came up onto my property here, approached my 2-year-old kid, completely naked, which I ran over to him and covered his eyes so he wouldn't see. My obvious thought is to call 911 as someone's indecently exposing themselves to my child on my property. At what point did this become a normal and acceptable thing to do? The cops will literally do nothing about it. They're basically saying we have to wait for that person to do something more serious to your kid before we can
Democrat,
intervene.
Republican, but look, man, it doesn't matter where you're at, but if something like this goes on around your child and you think that it's not a crime, that the person shouldn't be dealt with, I don't know what to tell you, man, because anybody that I know that has a child and somebody came on their property and was exposing themselves or, and you're talking about private property, but just to think in general, people wanting to show themselves like this in front of children, what type of person does that? Who behaves like that, man? It's not even a question of, whether you're liberal or conservative, but just think about like, what is the mentality and the people who are passing the laws and enforcing the laws, for them to say, well, they didn't act sexual, but man, you mean to tell me you're cool with that? It's cool for a person to behave like that? This is the problem, man, in a lot of these states, and that's why when you talk about the deterioration of a society, when you don't know if a man is a woman is a man can give birth, a woman can be a man, and children, you can they can be an elephant, they could be a puppy dog, they could be all this stuff. When you start trying to just make all these different things, and you're out here and you're you're the tree people, or you're the fuzzy people, or you're this person, dude, that's when you have a collapse of society. You have no spiritual base. I look at like a lot of this behavior as being demonic, that these people are possessed, because anybody that's God fearing, and I'm not saying you got to be a Bible thumper, but I'm saying as far as you believing in just the basics for what the foundation is for the Ten Commandments. If you don't follow those things and you don't believe in certain principles, then you're done. You're you're somebody that is not very welcoming to humanity. Anybody who wants to, like I said, hurt kids, anybody who wants to like violate women, who thinks it's cool to manipulate a young person, you think about like these people who think this stuff is normal. Do you think a child is capable of understanding as a young unmature individual what that experience is? They don't have an idea. Kids are supposed to be protected because they don't know, they're innocent. They haven't lived on the earth long enough to discern right from wrong. And it's just sad when you see stuff like this, but that's why you have certain individuals that when they catch a person like that, they get their wig split, man, because it's not cool. Ain't nothing cool about that. I don't know. I don't know nobody who would let their kid, hang out with a person, somebody who's involved in that kind of stuff. I mean, just think about it, right? You're a child, and you're usually trusting to adults, and these adults are manipulating these young people knowingly. Come on, man. It's disgusting, man. But I think it's a lot of people in power that behind closed doors, they're involved in this. So they kind of turn the other cheek when it comes to a lot of this stuff because they know that's how they behave. And they don't want to basically prosecute people who carry on the same behavior. But yeah, it's crazy. I just, the guy sitting there and he's like, well, and I'm like, I don't know how much truth because I didn't see the rest of the video. I didn't want to see the rest if there was another part of whoever was walking naked. But just to think that if something like this did happen and this person is intentionally trying to expose themselves to young children, that's a wig split, man. You tell me. Big Herc 916, getting down fresh out prison talk.